My name's Darren McGannis. I'm 39 years old, and I got saved when I was 13. I wish I could say that's where the story ended, because if it ended there, I could have had that happy childhood life growing up knowing the Lord and hear all those wonderful stories that you hear all the time. But to be honest, that's not my story. My story went a different way. I spent probably the better part of 24 years of my life in the occult. I got into Satanism. I was into drugs. I pretty much did everything I could do to destroy my life. I really didn't have a desire much to live anymore. I didn't see a lot of purpose in life for me. I just went through the worst depression of my life. I went through like 10 years of waking up every day and wishing that I was dead. When it finally bottomed out about 2.5 years ago, I was found out for illegal possession of narcotic pills. I lost my job. I lost my wife. I lost my house, everything. And on top of that, I thought I was on my way to prison. And I said, I'm not going to live my life in a cage. And so I packed up what little stuff I had left at that point, and I bought a one-way ticket to New Hampshire. And people always say, why New Hampshire? And I said, well, you're going to die somewhere beautiful. So I bought a one-way ticket up into the mountains in New Hampshire. I ended up in a place called Berlin, New Hampshire. And I'll never forget it. I was just wandering around this little town, and I was still miserable. There was still nothing inside me that was working or functioning. I was just basically just wandering around. I found this little trestle bridge, and I just walked to it, and I just sat down on this bridge, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to end this? How is this going to end? Because I knew at this point it had to end. There was no way it could continue to go on at this point. And after so many years of serving the devil, I couldn't talk to God anymore. And I said, Satan, I served you all these years. I gave you 24 years of my life. What do you want me to do now? The answer he gave me is the answer that he gives everybody when he's done with them. He said, the only thing that you can do for me now is die. And so as I sat there, I couldn't believe the answer. I said, well, how's it going to end now? How's it going to end? How am I going to kill myself? Because I knew that had to happen. And I heard another voice. And it was a voice that I was familiar with but had not answered for a long time. And the voice said, get up. I said, get up and go. So I got up and I started walking. And I found this little church, which was probably maybe 2.5 miles or something away from where that bridge was. And there was a pastor there. I'll never forget his Pastor Hoyt. And he looked down at the top. He was installing windows in the church. And he said, what can I do for you? And I said, I just need some help. And he came down and he talked to me. And this man, he never once, I showed him, I looked at him and I said, look at me, I'm completely broken. I can't be fixed. I showed him all these satanic rings and jewelry and everything I had on. And he just looked at me. And, instead of condemning me, he just told me his story about how God had changed his life and how God could do the same thing for me. And he asked me if I would come to a church service that they were having that night. And so I came. And I sat down in the back of that church. And I soaked in what was going on. And I realized that I didn't have to ask for salvation. I had asked for salvation when I was 13 years old. But what I had to do was I had to accept the fact that I was pretty much the prodigal son. I had went out and I had wasted everything that God had gave me. 24 years with the devil and he wanted me to die. 24 years serving Satan and God said, just come on. Just come on. And so I came home that day. And I always say God brought me home on a little trestle bridge somewhere in the mountains of New Hampshire. And I think now to start over and to have a fresh start and maybe for someone to see my life through their eyes and say, as far as he went, as far as he ran, he couldn't get away from God, and that's me. Maybe somebody sees that message, and maybe it makes a difference in their life. And I think maybe that's what I'm missing right now, is that opportunity. And being baptized is going to be that symbol of that new life.
I confess your faith in Jesus Christ. So I baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.